Yeah. Right in your face. This is Crypto in the Morning. My name is Jim Rat Crypto. And I can't miss. I feel like I can't miss sometimes. I don't care about the bear market. I don't care about all that shit. What are you doing on the feet? It's all about what you're doing on the feet. Y'all can press buttons with the best of them. But here at the Crypto in the Morning crew, we talk with our feet. We talk with our actions. We love taking action every single day here. And we have big ideas, and obviously we brainstorm before the show. We got all excited like little schoolgirls because this is literally like a playground. Crypto's a playground. And for adults, and there's a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of cool things you can do. Whoops. There's a lot of cool things you can do, and there's a lot of creativity space there. Like you can be creative. Wow, who would have thought? I never thought in a million years there was going to be creativity in my life. I just didn't think that was me. And now I'm like, that's not true at all. It's not true at all. Guys, I didn't even post this one today, which is fine. I might post it during the show. We're talking about Curve Protocol, okay? We're talking about Curve Protocol. Sam's all over it. He wants to know why. He's got so many whys. He's just like, you have the product, you have the design, and then you have the like, and he's confused. Okay. I think he's a little confused. I looked a little bit into it. It seems like another dumb shit project to me, like as far as the interface when you pull it up, but we'll get into that later, guys. Everyone who's here, thank you very much. Par Excellence, I see you pounding the biceps in there. Flat Earth Underground. Monica Mo Fit Meals. Absolute. I love her. She's the best. KS, everyone. Great to see you guys. Matthew Lopez. Make sure you share this to a friend. It's Tuesday. We're back to the work week, guys. Get it together. I say work week. I haven't left my desk in weeks other than to go to the gym and rip it. Guys, this is Crypto in the Morning. We're talking about Curve Protocol. We're inviting on guests. We'll pull up memes. We're pulling up charts. Let's see what's going on in the crypto space. Pulse Dogecoin is mooning. In a bear market, there's action in the RH ecosystem, and we love covering that here, guys. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
Young folks, you dripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. Point one every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Heart. Richard Heart. Richard Heart. Richard Heart. Getting this back like a year ago.
That song's hot. Slamming Sammy.
Well, that's good, man. How you doing?
You're looking lean, bro.
I am down probably
Your biceps look crazy lean. That's crazy.
14 pounds, maybe 15 pounds. You know who I want to shout out is
No cursing.
Yeah, I won't use their name because I don't know if they want me to shout that out. But somebody in the Crypto Fitness Challenge saw their text message yesterday. Still need to respond, but they're down 48 pounds. 48 pounds, guys. It is absolutely stunning how quickly you can make progress in your life when you start taking action every day. In the moment, moving forward by this much doesn't feel like much. But when you do that day in and day out, week after week, month after month, the amount of progress you can make in your life is astonishing. It'll blow you away. Now imagine taking that same philosophy and applying it to your relationships, applying it to your financial literacy and education. Imagine applying that to your fitness.
You know what the most important one is? You know what the most important one is? Relationships. It's the hardest one, and it's the most important one because you have business relationships, you have partner,
friends,
family,
intimate.
And if you can figure out how to deal with people in an okay way, I still struggle with the family a little bit. I'm hard-headed, man, and I feel like everyone's out to get me all the time, and it comes out when I'm around people that I love a lot. Like I have a chip on my shoulder, right, and I carry that around, and other people don't think about that when I walk in the room, but I do. I'm like, I remember what y'all were saying last year. I was like, and they don't like to hear it because it's not nice, and it's like, but that's what drives me. It's just like it has nothing to do with them. Everyone does their own thing, right? Like everyone tries their best. My parents are amazing, like, and I'm just different, and I just was figuring that out at the time, and I was just like, so I don't remember what we were talking about, but life is good, guys. Life is good. You probably have more money than me. If you're unhappy and you're sitting there, you're stupid. Because guess what? It has nothing to do with money, guys. It has to do with overhead. Say that all the time. And it has to do with spiritual fitness, mental fitness, or whatever you want to call it. But checking in daily. I've been doing my prayers in the morning, which is more so, they're not prayers, like whatever they call it. You give yourself a moment and you set your intentions for the day before you start doing shit so that you can be on a roll, right? You want to start on a roll so that the first thing you do is not, something stupid. It's whatever you want to align yourself with. And if you do that every single day, you just dominate everyone because nobody does that.
Speed. If you don't have the resources, you don't have the network, you don't have the money, you have speed, right? The faster you can do stuff, that's your advantage. That's your superpower. That, if you can get stuff done faster than other people, that gives you advantage because then what happens? You learn faster, you create new relationships.
But it's also up to you to do something that you're passionate about. If I was selling cars, I guarantee I wouldn't give a shit, and everyone would say Scott's a half-ass salesman. Because I would be.
Because you wouldn't do it very long, right?
I probably wouldn't do it, to be honest. I just would never do it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I spent the last 5 years of my life really working through who I was and what I would be good at in my own way, and behind the scenes, and other people weren't doing that. I can promise you they weren't doing it. I was watching.
Yes. On the crypto front, I pulled up a DEX scanner to take a look at Hex. Let's take a look at. I like the idea of doing it on a fairly regular basis to show people how easy it is to look at Etherscan because I'm new in crypto for 90 days or so, and when somebody's like, "Oh, you can just look it up on Etherscan," the idea of figuring that out when you don't have any effing idea what Etherscan is because you're 90 days into crypto was like, oh, okay. It sounds like it's relatively simple. It sounds like you can just check this out on Etherscan. How do you do that? What does that mean? So I like the idea that you had the other day to pull this up relatively often. And this is DexScan. This is hex chart here. So this is, for anybody who is wondering, it's Dex.
What's the price right now, Sam?
8 cents, just over 8 cents.
Nice.
Right? It's actually up substantially from the 3.5 cents it was a few days ago. Or whenever
That's pretty bullish. Like as a bottom, like come on, guys. We felt it. We let it go there. It happened. We bought. Some of us bought. Some of us didn't. Whatever. We felt the feelings. We pop back up. Super bullish. Like I'm sorry, guys. Until something that hasn't occurred in crypto before happens to Hex, like I don't care. Because like there's just too much. I'm buying it. I'll sell my fucking house.
Bro, think about this. From
excuse my language.
Damn no, dude.
Darn it.
We'll get this done. We'll get it done. I said freaking earlier, or I said effing or something instead of saying.
It's all right. It's all right. Reset.
Okay. So it was.
Switch it up. Ish, effing. Those can slide. You know what I mean? You don't have to completely go, church on us, but you can just switch it up a little bit.
Take me to church.
So listen to this, 3.5 cents. 3.5 cents less than a week ago. A doubling on your bag, bro. A doubling.
And if you claimed your free Pulse Doge, go to the Pulse Doge coin price chart, please.
Okay, let me pull that. What's that? PLS?
No, just you can just write like a Pulse Doge coin in the search bar. It'll come up.
Oh, okay. Let's get this.
But do the purple one, not the brown one.
Let me share this back over with you. And oh wow, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, you see. Do you guys see what I've been a little bit jolly about over in the Pulse Doge coin? Hey, I just work here, guys. Okay. But I tell you what, when someone gives me a bunch of free money and I see a price chart going like that, I take interest. It's Sam deep, but think about it deeper, Sam. Think about the way they distributed it. Think about the way they did it. Think about guys like me right now. They're like, hey, I got a bunch of free money that is going up. And
can you tell me? Hey, Sean, I see Sean in the comments. Hey, can you tell me what you did to claim and what you need to do to claim?
So I can show you right now. So if you go to Twitter and you go to Pulse Dogecoin's Twitter, I can't remember I don't want to say the wrong site. So let's go. You always go to the Twitter first, Sam, because you can always get a scam site. That's what I do.
Okay, I'll find this when you tell me.
Pulse Dogecoin, and then go to. I pulled it up the other day, so it'll be up. Pulse.
I got it. Sure
and then it's a very easy interface. I know your stakes probably, but so then you go to pulsedoge.app. Yep.
And let me pull this up and put this back into this browser here. All right.
And then you would connect wallet, and when you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
It's a fake wallet, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so go ahead and connect it if you want.
Okay. If this works.
And then depending on how many stakes you have, it would tell you how much free Dogecoin you had at the top. So if you have any stakes within this account at all, it would say right there, claim your free, but you do not have the qualifier or whatever. So guys, and it would jump right into your account, read receipt only, and then detach your account from it once you get all your stuff. You can claim on every single account that you have stakes on. And you can't add more stakes to it, though. That's not how it works. So
you mentioned detach. So let's just touch on that because that's something that not a lot of people actually. You can't see this, can you? I want to show you
down there.
I want to show people how to detach their MetaMask to.
Make sure we start talking about Curve soon.
Yes,
it's in the title.
Curve, we're going to cover Curve. Curve is some super interesting stuff.
Anyways, you're teaching me about Curve, so remember, I don't know.
Disconnect your wallet. I don't think I can share it, but in MetaMask on the extension, you click it, and then it says connected account in the center, and then there's the 3 little dots. Click that. Go to connected sites, and then anything that you connect to, disconnect. There is no point in staying connected, and if you stay connected to every site that you connect to, that is a risk factor that you don't want to be exposed to, because Pulse Doge app can get hacked and potentially give them access. Maybe not if you're just giving them read access, but the other sites can get hacked and give them an access way into your wallet potentially. It has happened before. So that was a good point you brought up. Make sure you disconnect your wallet from whatever site that you're connecting to. So what is your perception of what Curve Finance is, right? If somebody was like, hey man, have you heard of Curve? Can you tell me what it is? Well, how would you answer that question?
I would think it was some lending protocol, but I don't even really know what it is. So I heard it has something to do with stable coins and some DEX for stable coins, I think. So basically, I'm assuming if I wanted to find the stable coin that maybe had the most liquidity, is that what it finds? What does it look for?
Let's pull this one. Let's read this. See if you can.
I can read this real quick.
Yes, please. Let me make
So Curve Finance is an automated market maker protocol designed for swapping between stablecoins with low fees and slippage. It's a decentralized liquidity aggregator where anyone can add their assets to several different liquidity pools and earn. Okay, I see. So it's a place where you can add to different liquidity pools, but can you only add stables?
I think there's wrapped BTC, but I don't.
Basically, yes. So basically,
basically yes. Basically, yes. It's primarily just stablecoins.
Well, that's interesting. So it's for people that want to provide liquidity within stablecoins. So it is for mega nerds.
it is, and it's also, think about who has the bag size for stablecoins. It's people who have been in crypto for quite some time, and they have right. We've talked about this before. There's at a certain point in terms of how big your bag is, there's certain people who like to take a portion of their portfolio allocation and they keep it in stable coins. There's a sense of security if you were like, hey, I've got $25 million of my $200 million and it is sitting in stable coins. And there's a feeling of security when the market drops by 80%. And that portion, that $25 million, stays at $25 million, right? You're like, oh, cool. Like that portion didn't go down by 80%. That $25 million didn't go down, $18 million or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So there's that piece of it. So I went through and read their white paper, stable swap, efficient mechanisms for stablecoin liquidity. And this was interesting. You know how like Uniswap has their AMM formula, which is like I've talked about it, X times Y equals constant, and that's how it actually calculates what the ratio is between those two, right? That's this purple dotted line here. So what I want to talk about with that is why that's actually beneficial. Let me pull up one more thing here to show you. Because that's actually what gives you
remove all approvals at https.etherscan.io token approval checker if you're concerned. So anyone in there, you can actually see all of them in the same interface and click out of them. So that's cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's kind of cool.
It looks pretty cool. If you know that, if you have that in your back pocket, that's good to have. So what am I looking at here, Sam? Give me 1 second to talk to the chat before we jump into this. Okay, give me a second. My brain's clearing up. I did working out, so I did some working out this morning. Let me give 1 second, real quick. So there was this guy Richard Cooper who they were covering on the DS show, and he has 500K subs, and he was like, I used to take his courses and shit back in the day. Like when he had like 10K subs. Again, I always have these same stories about the same guys because I find guys on the internet that are good. And they always stick around because I always find the guys that are actually good at it. And these guys are all popping up, 500K subs, like million subs here, like 1 point. It's crazy to see. And yeah, they're talking crap about Hex. Richard Cooper doesn't know jack crap about crypto. He's a boomer, and he's a legacy finance guy, and he buys supercars all day. He does not know about crypto. So whatever he said is stupid. I can already tell you that right this second, and I don't even have to listen to it. But if you want me to break down that, biceps in the chat, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Break down that biceps in the chat. Doing it tomorrow. Actually, Maddie All In's coming in tomorrow.
Maddie in the house.
Maddie All in the house tomorrow. I'm going to confirm with him, but we confirmed last week. So I'm going to get a thumbnail going for that. It's going to be sick, guys. So just remember, guys, share this out for me every single day, guys. We have a lot of stuff in the works, guys. It's crazy what's going on behind the scenes, guys. Bullish, do you want to pull up that scene real quick? Just I see you have it loaded in. I'd be curious to what is that? So I didn't watch this for anyone who wants to know. I just know that this occurred, and I know this guy Richard Cooper kind of intimately, not on a personal level, but I've studied his work, read his books, and
so back in the day, you said you got a course from this dude. The guy.
I don't remember what he was selling back in the day, but I was buying it. Like whether it was free shit or like he was coming on to other paid courses. I think I was taking paid. This is what was happening. I was taking all these crypto and dating paid courses, and then they would get this guy. They're all friends. And they would let this guy to come on during the webinars and have a chat like once a week. So we were like chatting with this guy about like buying houses, shit like that. Like this guy would come on and start talking finance usually about, hey guys, you guys got to man up and get your finances right. Kind of that kind of vibe, if you know what I mean. But he also talks about women. I mean, that's what I was into it initially, but I don't care about that shit anymore.
And that's the dude, Richard Cooper.
Right here. So let's play this real quick.
Go ahead, Bullish.
Fucking,
thank you.
Got the programming for the red belt and became a fucking giga chat. Fuck.
Bullish likes to look at things, listen to his content.
17x.
4x.
The funny thing is, I just checked. It's not playing at
He
4x.
has a fitness part covered. He has a mindset.
He said 17x.
No, it's at normal speed. That's why I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Refresh the page, maybe.
Maybe those guys probably put it.
My three pillars. But he drives a fucking McLaren. He's a G. Like he's the one who created me.
Oh, I get it. He's playing.
Yeah, they're just looking through his shit.
No. Rich Cooper is looking at this video here sped up. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He's the one who programmed it. Before I knew, he's basically my second father figure. He's my internet father figure.
Okay.
If it wasn't for me, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Like if it wasn't for Richard Cooper, I would be some fucking 17-year-old beta pleb, lost in life and not knowing what to do.
He's fluffing me up, right? Because he's now going to use my name and brand to show his shit to other people. This kid is not fully unplugged.
Oh, what's happening?
I became a superior man. Like, I have all the superior programming, and now I'm doing the work.
Well, I gotta look through all this shit because I mean, I could look through this tomorrow and break it down a little bit. I just need time to look at it. But that's pretty cool, though. I mean, if he has any interaction with the community, I'll talk to his ass at some point. I'll try to at least.
You might have the connection with somebody that you previously had talked to see if you can get him on the show.
Hate my guts, though.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's probably better than not. It probably means I'm doing something right.
Guys, we can pull in people from outside the community. It allows us to grow faster, right? Like GRC was talking about a minute ago with the relationships, right? So if we can continue to network and grow the community by pulling people from the outside of the community, that is very, very valuable to growing the community, in my opinion.
I agree. Sam, let's go back into Curve Protocol, guys. We're talking about Curve Protocol because on this show, we actually talk about real shit. We don't just pretend like we know what we're doing. We just look into stuff that's happening in the space constantly so we can have a better idea. Right now, we're looking into Curve Protocol. This is something Sam was studying yesterday. So, Sam, make sure you're teaching me as we go. What are we looking at here? And for everyone who doesn't know, Curve Protocol is a stablecoin aggregator, DEX, that basically you can provide liquidity for stablecoins and you can use all those functions on a DEX, but generally for stables.
Yes. Okay. So let me pick a couple. Let's do green here. So why does like this work better, or why could this work better? What's the idea behind making Curve better than Uniswap? Because you can go to Uniswap and you can just switch from DAI to UST or USC or USDC, right? You can just switch between these things if you want to. So why go over here? Well, that has to do with the formula. So there's something called a constant product, and then there's a constant sum, and then there's everything in between. Like, what does that mean? Well, let's just look at pictures because that's way easier. if you see this red dotted line here, and let's do a little line from here to here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. This red dotted line represents the constant sum. Now, if somebody is using Uniswap, they're not using that. They're using a constant product, which is just X times Y. That's what, when it says product in mathematical terms, it's just multiplying two things together. That's called a product. So the constant sum is this red line down here. The constant product is this line here. Right? And obviously this is not curved, but say, for example, somebody wanted to take 25 million on Uniswap and sell DAI for USDC. You've heard of slippage, right? Bullish. Maybe you can pull up Matcha and the slippage for like $1 million or $2 million trade from USDC to DAI. If you can, that would be dope to see what the actual slippage in the market is, so I can show this as part of the example. But the difference between these, right? If I was here in the center point, right here, and I go to trade this, let me make this a smidge bigger. I go from here and I come out here to trade my $25 million. What this rectangle or triangle represents is slippage, right? Because with a constant product, when you go through and you trade X for Y, then because they're multiplying each other, and over here in this portion, the constant portion of it has to always stay constant. So the other side needs to change. The fancy way of saying that, fancy in the mathematical terms, is like you have more slippage in this example here. Now, what Curve did is they took this one here, the constant sum, so X plus Y, plus this, the constant products, X times Y, and they made a couple derivations to this to come up with this blue, which let me highlight this real quick, would come up with this blue line here. If you look at this blue line, you see how it touches the red dotted line more often? So what does that mean? That means if you did that same transaction, but you were to use Curve instead of using the other protocol, Uniswap, you would trade your 25 million, and now you see this little tiny bit right here, Jerry. So you see this tiny little white spot right here? That is the slippage for your 25 million. So what Curve, the way that they created their AMM, which is just a formula, fancy way for saying formula, is that allows you to have a larger tangent. That's what this means, like when it's touching this line right here, it's touching there at a wider space, right? So that means there's a lot less slippage. You just saved all of this money right here in terms of slippage. Bullish, were you able to actually pull?
He's not, I don't think he's there at this moment.
Okay.
But we would need the right website anyway. So we want to make sure we're on the right website for that. And so anyone in the comments, if you know the website, you're looking for the slippage between USDC and what?
And like DAI or something like that. I'll try to pull it up. What do you think of all this stuff?
Uniswap. Let's go to Uniswap.
Does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
What I'm saying? Okay. Yeah. Now you're like, oh wow, this is super cool, right? This is dope.
Well, it's interesting, right? I don't care so much about this stuff, but in a world where I did, I would. You know what I mean? Like if I had a bunch of stables, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Correct, exactly. and you could be like, imagine having. I'm gonna try to pull.
And we're gonna get the king of stables to come on here, I think, too. Jesse, to like maybe talk about some of this stuff, because I bet he has experience.
I'm gonna pull up Uniswap and see if I can find what the slippage price impact is here, and see if I can tell the difference. Let me show you guys what this actually looks like, because slippage can be very costly, super duper costly. So can you see this? Okay. So this is Uniswap. First of all, Uniswap, check this out. Kind of reminds you of Google, right? In the sense that is super, super simple. And I want to highlight this. Remember that. We'll leave it there until we get to the curve.fi website. Remember how simple this looks. So let's switch from, say, DAI. And in our example, we're using 25 million, right? So we're going to take 25 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a little bit more. No, that's 25 million. right? And let's switch that to, say, USDC. This example. So we select USDC, and then down here at the bottom, it's should tell us what the slippage is, hopefully. Okay, so in this example, it's not pulling up the slippage, but
wait, it does. You have to pull down the. Oh, did you pull it down the browser?
It did.
Slippage 0.5%. Minimum received after slippage 0.5%. So it shows you the difference. What is that bottom?
Oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. This is the first time I'm looking at this, so thank you for highlighting.
You're good.
So basically, what they're saying is this trade to go from 25 million of something that represents 25 million, it's going to end up costing you over $100,000 to do this transaction. Let me ask you a second. If I have
talk about it again, slow it down. Say that one more time so people know what you're saying. So the difference between you're saying that the cost, how much was that again? Exactly?
25 million.
So 25 million, guys. If you swap, right? Like if you're swapping USDC for DAI, you're going to lose roughly $100,000.
$126,700.
$126,000. This is why this is important, guys. It's really important because as me and Sam it's just the more information you can put in your head about the interaction between all these things, it just gives you a better idea, right, Sam? Like, because that $100,000, like only a certain amount of people are going to pay that, or whatever.
And this formula, the change in the formula for Curve, some formula like that or similar to that could be applied to other assets. Because think of it, if you have $100 of cash and I have a $100 bill and I have 100 singles, you don't want to be like, hey Sam, can I give you just $100 for your 100 singles? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll give you $75. Right? Like that just doesn't seem like a great trade. And DAI is supposed to trade at $1. USDC is supposed to trade at $1. Why is it costing $125,000 to do this? Because of that constant product, right? Remember when we looked at that constant product formula? Let me pull this back up.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to invite Jesse on to join us in this conversation. Jesse, I don't know if you're actually available at this exact second, but I just joined you on.
I'm in here.
Oh, what's up, dude? How you doing?
Good.
What's up, man? How are you, man? Good to see your icon there and hear your voice.
Yeah, good to be on here. So I guess you guys are talking. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about Curve or stablecoins or.
Do you know Curve protocol?
I know it a little bit, right? It looks like an Atari. It looks like we're a computer out of the 1980s when you log into the tab.
I'll show that.
Which is
as far as the aggregators for stablecoins, I guess that's
it has the most liquid and searches for the most liquid stablecoin pools, so that you have the least amount of slippage. And by far, if you're going to trade stablecoins, like if you're going to trade USDT to USDC or into DAI or anything, use Curve, because you always get way better of a rate, because the slippage you'll have will be far less than Uniswap or 1inch or anywhere else. Like Curve does it better than all of them. I don't know exactly how it does it better. I just know it uses the most liquid pools across the chains.
So as somebody who understands business, and you are dealing with your own project full time, okay? So you understand the way some of this stuff should look potentially to get guys like Sam to be more interactive with the sites, I guess. Sam's about as robotic as a human could be, and he thinks this is nerdy. So
their site is trash.
Yeah. So what the hell? Imagine having a product that Jesse and Sam think is cool, and then this is the website that we're dealing with.
Like this is trash. There's no way you're gonna get mass adoption.
This is confusing my brain. It doesn't compute.
Yeah,
My gym rat brain is not computing. When I look at this, I will click away. I'm like, I'm getting scammed.
Yes.
Something's occurring.
yeah, but it actually gets tons and tons of volume. Like I don't know why.
The guys that use it have $20 million in USDC.
Craigslist looks like shit, and they still do tremendous volume.
Okay, Jesse. So you're like, okay, so say they have transactional volume of say $300 million a month, right? You know, cool, that's fantastic. You could reduce slippage to like say 80% of what it would be on Uniswap or 1inch or like using Matcha even, right? And then you look at this site and it's garbage. Now imagine if they had V2 and the UI and UX. User interface and user experience for people not sure what that means. It's just how the people interact with the site and what they see. GeoCity literally highlighted this. There's so many, and I posted this on Twitter, right? You can use Twitter as like to test ideas. So I posted this. I was like, holy shit, there's no way that this is going to get mass adoption because of how it looks. So on Twitter, you know how like when you post stuff on Twitter, sometimes you post stuff and you get like 7 likes and nobody comments, and then other times you post stuff on there and you're like, get
that doesn't happen to me. I have a parabolic way of being on Twitter.
You get 75 likes and maybe 50 comments. I posted this, and I got around 50 comments on this, and close to 100 likes.
How many comments did you get on the PPLSD?
150.
Do you see what the rate is on that exchange, like right in front of you there?
Where you'll have to tell me where to go specifically.
Well, it says exchange. I got you, Sam. It's right there. Exchange
0.9999.
Yeah. 0.999. That's the exchange rate. What does that mean?
That just means the price. I guess the price difference between the two. So you're still going to have some slippage, but what does it say? Like, click that again. Click what you just clicked.
Over here. 10.
Plug like 100K worth of dye in there, and see what the slippage says it's going to be.
Okay, so I don't think it allows. It says
not enough
balance. Oh, that's from my side. Just because I don't think I have that.
You don't have 100 grand in there. You pleb.
Yeah. So I just want to make that clear. Okay, so 100 grand. It still says the slippage is the same.
Yeah, but I don't know if it calculated. So why don't you just do shit?
I don't know what you have. So like you gotta pick something you got and try and pretend like you're gonna go through a swap into something else.
Yeah, well, it's not gonna work on his end because he's just using the dummy.
Yeah.
But just pull this down for a second, and guys, pull up. Tell me the site where you can go to do. Or are we looking on this specific site for the slippage directly?
Well, I can try and pull something up.
Hey, Jesse, you're the guy.
I'm just like the Uniswap thing or an example on Curve?
An example on Curve. So let me see.
And I'll pull up the formula. Like this is the reason why it actually is cheaper on Curve, because what we actually talked about here. If you look at this formula, right, because Curve is closer to being tangent at multiple spots relative to the red line. Uniswap is this purple line, meaning if you swap and you come all the way out here, the delta, the difference between this purple and the red dotted line is your cost to do the trade, that slippage, that $126,000. On Curve, because they changed the math on it for the AMM, because you have something that's $1 and $1, you shouldn't pay an exorbitant amount of fee to just switch between those two things. So that's what they're solving. And you look here, if you were doing the exact same trade, it would come all the way out here, and you get to see the difference between the red dotted line and the blue line. It's very tiny. So you pay a lot less in actual slippage there. That's what that white paper alluded to that I went through and read yesterday. And then I looked at the actual site and I was like, holy crap, this is garbage. Jesse, when I went through and looked at SimilarWeb, which is a site that aggregates its web analytics, so they look at like website traffic, bounce rate, page views, etc. And I looked at curve.fi versus PulseX, the the DEX that just isn't actually here yet. PulseX is higher ranked than Curve, which is a live project. Like there's one is 63,000, the other one is 65,000. In terms of all of the websites of similar web ranks.
Can you pull that up?
Yes.
That's so. I want to know what you think about this too, like marketing wise, right? Like you're in the liquid loans team.
And your shit's awesome.
And your shit's awesome. Yeah. Like, I mean, as far as just from an outside perspective, like the way you guys present yourselves as far as on the digital web is amazing. And looking at something like this is silly. And then knowing Richard Hart, he has such a good marketing background, and some of his stuff is really sticky too. How much does it matter how these interfaces look? Because or was this just how new we are? Are we just this early? Like that it's just like Curve is like the first thing and it's just not been updated because these guys don't know what they're doing, but it works perfect. It's crazy, but pull that up.
So this is SimilarWeb. They do data analytics for websites, and we've got Curve right here. That's what this section is, right? Curve FI. And if you look at their ranking in the world, their site, based upon several different factors that they use to rank them, 65,000. In the United States, 52,000. And this is I found kind of interesting. Out of all finance-related sites in this category, they're in the top 1,000 sites. That's kind of interesting, right? Because you're like, wow, top 1,000 sites. So
that's insane.
Yeah, right. For a DeFi platform,
1,000
that looks like trash. It was designed by nerds for nerds because people like you and I are
the trigger word in this community.
Designed by people who didn't have the same
marketing background.
Yes, right. What might be a better way of putting it. Right?
We don't make fun of people for being nerds, Sam.
No, I'm a nerd, right? Like I'm a nerd. I don't say that in a dry.
Yeah, well, then you would have made a better website. All right, so let's look at this. Wow, guys, huge! This is huge.
Pulse X, something that's not out, not even launched yet. You just have a test net. Is ranked 63,000. Right, so let's go back here for 1 second. Curve.fi, the platform that is out there already, that already people are using 65,000. Right?
Hey, let me read something that
Please.
So I just went through a test swap, okay?
Please.
$50,000 worth of USDC swapped into DAI, you would end up with 49,995.
Wow.
Okay, so you would lose $5, okay, plus the gas fee, the ETH, right? But that doesn't count. Okay, now I went to Uniswap and I plugged in the same thing, $50,000 worth of 50,000 USDC, and it says that I would end up with 49,939.
That's like 700 times better.
So I mean, the difference there being 60 bucks, like $60 difference.
That's a 12x difference.
So
right?
on $5 million,
$5 versus
on $5
$60.
million, Sam, if the same rate applies, which is it the same rate? Is it just extrapolated?
It would be more. It would be more.
It would be more.
So the bigger the dollar amount, the more of an impact it has.
It's super interesting, guys, this Curve protocol stuff. But not only Curve protocol, but similar aggregators in different coins, right, Sam? It's all very important because how many people are swapping on MetaMask today and don't know that they're getting bent over because they don't read the amount?
Oh, yeah, because listen, MetaMask has so when you go straight to a Web3 app like Curve or Uniswap or 1inch or something, you're going to have fees over there. And maybe it's like an aggregator, maybe it's like 1inch, so it'll kind of try and find you the best rate. But if you just swap like right on the front end of your wallet, then there's another fee that's kind of hidden in there, and that's the wallet fee itself. Now, imagine being an owner of a wallet. So let's say Richard does a sacrifice for a wallet, okay? Let's say that we all own some sort of token, or we're earning some sort of revenue from people using the wallet, right? That just imagine that's additional and usually over and above like what you normally would see if you wallet connected straight into one of these dApps like Curve or Uniswap or something like that.
Jesse, I had an idea yesterday, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What about not doing that in terms of the additional revenue for a coin associated with a wallet from an ecosystem, like a much more macro view to help the whole entire, because at that point it would be 4 products, right? PulseX, Pulse, Hex, and the wallet, right? So how do I get this thing to grow the fastest to make everything work better together, and having the wallet tied directly into PulseX through the app with no additional fee, and being able to stake Hex directly through the wallet, bro. Nobody else is doing that. That would be tremendously valuable. That would be the go-to wallet for Pulse, right? Because you can go to, you don't have to pay any additional fees. You can swap right into an app, and you don't have to pay anything extra. That's so convenient.
Well, there's certainly marketing value of providing a free service, right? So let me give an example. Let's say there was a multi-sig safe option, that a major protocol released as a service to the community, so that everyone could have that sort of wallet and they could use it for free and do whatever they needed to protect their assets. But it was also an easy way to get into, say, liquid loans or to do swaps or do whatever, but it was free. There's huge marketing value in releasing something that everybody's going to need anyway, or everybody wants, that provides easy access to the things that make everyone money.
Jesse, you guys should add PulseX on there, and you guys should add a Hex staking feature. If you hypothetically may be brewing this idea in your mind and your team and with guys you're working with, if you add that on, that would be so valuable to the community to be able to get into liquid loans right through the app, to be able to staking right from the app, to be able to get into PulseX and trade within the app without an additional fee. Like, nobody else is doing that from a wallet standpoint, and it would easily set that apart. And there could be some other way to provide value for if there's another token associated with that. I'm sure there's a creative or resourceful way to do that. I haven't put a ton of thought into it yet, but Jesse, just saying.
The competition's trash is what they're saying.
Yes, you could easily do some real damage there and really cement.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, there's a lot of good stuff out there. So,
I just meant for the stablecoin aggregator in general. If this is the best one, I thought.
Yeah. Listen, you're always going to get the best rate at Curve, for some reason.
They're super geniuses.
It's just way cheap. If you're going to swap from one stable to another stable, and you're not using Curve, you're leaving money on the table. I know it looks like a 1980s, old like Dell, or Macintosh or something from the 1980s. Okay, but you're going to save money by using Curve if you're swapping stable to stable.
If somebody knows anyone from the Curve team, please tell them to come on the show ASAP. Rocky, please. Any dev, any Telegram admin, get someone on the show so we can tell them to stop playing limp dick on their website and let guys like me spend all my millions of dollars and die. Finally, I can spend it. I can swap it. I mean, for free. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any stable coins really, other than just like my next couple buys.
Jesse, what do you think about the staking on Curve and the earning on Curve?
What do the rates look like right now?
Do you do any stablecoin stuff, Jesse, in general, other than just like have it? Do you do any kind of staking, I guess, or whatever?
Yeah, I do on Liquidity.
Oh, cool.
So it says, looks like there's a bunch of different pools. It says 1.46%. It says negative 0.3%. I'm not exactly sure, but like it says plus plus 4, right? Because I don't know what this means.
Yeah, that would mean 1.46%.
1.46, but then what does this mean? Plus 4%.
Well, it says USDT plus wrapped Bitcoin plus wrapped ETH.
And then what does this percentage mean here?
I think it's just adding it all up top, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the interface is a little trash. Okay, scroll down a little bit. I don't know if anyone's staking WBTC too much.
Here's one. Here, this is DAI, USDC, USDT, and SUSD. It's 2%, 2.27%.
Go up one. I like that. I like the pair there. DAI, USDC, and USD.
So this is a negative rate.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to look at the amount. I mean, the three, like those are very common ones.
I just clicked on it.
But just like Jesse said, maybe the ones that are on Liquidity, people prefer to go over there to do it, and that would be USDT. So why don't you go?
It's different. Like I think what you guys are looking at is like liquidity providing. You're going to put up a handful of different tokens, and the protocol is going to swap around between all of them. You know, as people swap, you're going to be left with some sort of impermanent loss or impermanent gain. Like so, it's. And there's a little fee that gets shaved off. You get that too, right? But that's different than liquidity. That's way different.
So when you're this is definitely not the easiest user interface to look at, but I'm like, this is like banks in Europe where you actually had to pay the bank to put your money there. At least this was the case, a year and a half ago, where they had negative interest rates. In this pool here, it appears, if I'm understanding what the Curve protocol is saying, you're paying Curve to put your money there. It just says negative 0.3%. Does that sound accurate to you, Jesse?
Possibly. I don't know. I'm driving. I'd have to
no worries.
So yeah, I think we can't be harping on this too long. It makes no difference right now. We got to figure all this stuff out in our own time. But in general, I think that's really cool news that we found out. That is the best way to do the stables. I mean, for anyone in the show that doesn't know that, that's pretty good information, I'd say.
So there's something else I want to add, right? So, well, first let's recap. For whatever reason, Curve has really good liquidity pools, and the rate that you'll get swapping from stable to stable is always really good on Curve compared to Uniswap or anywhere else. So remember that. Now, the other part of this is, let's say you want to be a liquidity provider, but you're scared of impermanent loss. Now, you have to be careful not to pick one of the Ponzi stables like Luna. Or
what about Luna
or
V2,
something,
though?
right?
What if it's V2? We're straight, right? And if you get into V2, you're automatically in the pool for the V3 airdrop. That came out today.
But go ahead with what you were saying. He was just fucking with you, but go ahead with your.
So don't pick one of these weird stables like Faye or Frax or like there's literally Ponzi stables out there that are going to collapse just like Luna did. You gotta stay away from those, right? But if you pick something like DAI or USDC, or if you're comfortable with Tether, okay, some people are worried about the backing behind it, so do your research. Or if you use something like LUSD, okay, there's 4 right there. TUSD is also fully backed. So there's 5 stables that are relatively safe that aren't going to go to zero. And you can be a liquidity provider between those. You could do that either on Curve or Uniswap or somewhere else, and you just eliminated your risk of impermanent loss. So what you end up doing is you put in, say, tokens on both sides. So let's say you have 10 grand worth of USDC, 10 grand worth of DAI. You put them into a pool. you're always going to leave there with 20,000 stable coins. Now, even if you had impermanent loss or gain, it doesn't matter because they're always redeemable back for $1 worth of something, right? So you're actually going to leave there with more because you're earning fees every time somebody swaps. A little bit of that gets shaved off and you collect it. So your 20,000 stable coins becomes 21, becomes 25, becomes, it just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. But the risk of it going down in value, which is where most people worry about impermanent loss, you just eliminated that risk altogether. So it's very different than like being a liquidity provider of USDC paired to like wrapped Bitcoin. Okay. Where if Bitcoin goes down from 60K to 30K, you just lost half your value. It's very different than that. Being a stability provider of two solid stable coins, there's no risk.
So if you're rich enough, and you just have a really large amount of stable coins, this is just free money.
Yes, it's a good place to park your stable coins for a small, decent yield. Now, there are other places you can park stable coins for a little bit more of a yield. Like, we'll say,
can I ask you about this? Because I agree with what you're saying, and I like the paraphrase of Curve and the synopsis of what's going on over there. But you casually mentioned a few moments ago that you use it to swap, but you actually are using a different protocol similar to liquid loans on Ethereum to actually do staking with your stable coins instead of staking them with Curve, because I would assume the returns are much lower. Can you talk about that, please? I'm assuming that's where you're going.
Yeah, so the returns you'll get on like liquidity pools, they're not going to be like huge. If you're staking stable to stable, or you're liquidity providing stable to stable, maybe you'll earn 1, 2, maybe 3% a year. Okay, but if you've got a big bag,
that's a lot.
That could actually be significant, right? If you're, say, a guy with 5 mil,
even 1 mil, if you're just living by yourself and you're a dude.
5 mil, 1% is 50 grand, so 3% would be 150 grand. Right, that's 5 mil at 3% is 150 grand a year.
That is incredible.
Right. Now,
and it's kind of safe, but it's also kind of not safe.
Well, what do you mean kind of not safe?
Well, come on. Jesse, you know exactly what I mean when I mean kind of not safe. Like everything in crypto is kind of not safe. Legislation's kind of not safe. And the banks are kind of not safe. And Luna just went to zero. And nobody knew that was a complete Ponzi before. I mean, a complete train wreck before. I mean, when they did the back,
lots of people did. You can cruise around Twitter and you can see people that foresaw that happening over a year ago.
Yes,
in fact,
I did.
I told people this was going to happen back in October. Like I said, hey, like this thing's going to fail. But people just don't care because they just want to chase that yield.
When they did the Bitcoin backing, I knew. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew something was going to happen. I was like, this is weird. Why did they just buy Bitcoin in a bear market? And, it just felt weird.
To navigate or to circumvent their protocol, right? Because that's not how the protocol is supposed to be. Like you ratio back and forth between the two of those things. So instead instead of using that ratio the way it's supposed to be used to do that, they're like, let's buy Bitcoin to back this because we know this shit is not fucking working, right? Like that's what happened. But Jesse, please go back to your point of staking on another protocol where you could earn more money, like over on the Ethereum side.
Right. So, like I said earlier, if you pick like a fully backed, fully redeemable, money in the bank or coins in the vault, whatever, backing a stable coin, and you know that if there was ever a bank run, everybody could get all their money out. The risk of it going to zero is zero, right? So that would include things like USDC, die, even though there's some counterparty risk, right? Because they're owned by institutions, right? You got to take that into consideration. But then look at LUSD, TUSD is fully backed. Okay, you just eliminated some of that risk, where like UST had a lot of that risk and should have been avoided, right? People couldn't avoid those gains. So, right. So, but then you take those stable coins. You got to ask yourself, when you make all this money in crypto, when you make a whole bunch of gains in Hex or in PulseX or here or there, like, how much of that do you want to shave off and park into stable coins? And that's your piggy bank.
And how much money you got?
You know, if I mean, once you start getting up into the millions, you're going to have to start taking some of that off the table and parking that into stable coins. Now, that doesn't mean extract it all the way back to your bank account and have it sitting in, you know, almost a zero yield bank account. I would argue that even USDC in your own private wallet is safer than having your money in some local bank.
Yeah. Well,
And you can get your money quicker. You can get your money quicker, actually, too.
Yeah. And I could do a deal with a buddy with it. I have enough buddies that have crypto now that if I wanted to like buy something, I could probably just use it.
But you want those stable coins to be earning some sort of yield. Now, there's only a couple ways to earn yield. So the yield on Uniswap is simply because, or Curve or something like that, is simply because you're earning fees off of other people that want to trade between those assets. That's 100% sustainable. It's not a fake yield. It's not inflationary. It's not constantly minting itself into oblivion to pay that to you. No, it's simple. You took two things that are fully backed and redeemable. You simply paired them together and gave a place where people are going to pay you a fee because they want to swap between those two things. That's pretty damn safe.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
definitely in the term of safety, it's pretty damn safe.
Then you have to look at alternatives that maybe pay a little bit better of a yield. So then you look at something like Liquidity or liquid loans for that matter, right?
Yes,
Same
please.
thing.
And please bring up liquid loans as you're talking about this to give us more perspective because I'm still want to learn.
So in liquid loans, what happens is you have a stable coin and you say, well, what do I want to do with this? And you're more than welcome to take that over to PulseX, be a liquidity provider, pair it back to USDC, and do the same thing I just described. Or you can single-sided stake it inside of the protocol. And when you do that, you're just there waiting in case there's any liquidations of Pulse. You scoop up that Pulse, and you're essentially buying that Pulse at a discount. So, in a discount, as in 10% off of the current market price whenever that happens. So, like, you're always winning when you pick up a liquidation. So that's where the yield comes from. It's coming from other people that triggered their stop loss or didn't manage their vault correctly. They lost their Pulse. They already have their loan up front, right? So, like, maybe they're happy. In fact, if the price continues to go down, they can buy back in cheaper. So it's kind of a win-win. There may be some tax implications for them if they had a liquidation. But then for you, who parked your stable coins, all you were you participated in a pool that's ready to buy that Pulse at a discount when necessary. So if you pick up a little bit of a liquidation, you actually make out by a little bit. You gain a little bit of value every time that happens. And then you're just being rewarded for being in there. You're just being paid in loan tokens. Loan tokens get staked, and you can do other things with them, right? So you're being paid. You're just being paid from a reward pool, and you're picking up liquidations. Now, this sort of mechanism is able to pay a little bit better than, going to a place like PulseX or Curve or something like that and being a liquidity provider of stable to stable. So let's say on Curve, you're able to earn 1 to 2%. But in liquid loans, let's say initially the yield might be insane, right? It could be hundreds, it could be thousands, but as more and more people enter that single-sided staking pool, it's going to settle out. And it could settle out anywhere between 6 and 20%. And it's going to move around in there. 6 to 20% is really, really, really good. And it's going to fluctuate with the markets and how many people enter that pool and how many people exit and so on and so forth. So, like you have options, and you can go back and forth. Let's say the stability pool everyone starts diluting themselves, and the rate goes down, and it's like 3%, and people aren't happy with it. You're gonna see people pull their stable coins out and go do the first thing I described, where they're gonna take their USDL and they're gonna go pair them to USDC or something, because the rate's better for doing that. And then what you see is the rate in the stability pool start to climb as more and more people do that. It all helps each other. It all balances each other out.
Jesse, is there a case or scenario under some like extreme anomaly, probably, where you put in 10 grand into the stability pool, and then after some period of time, some super extreme volatility and pulse, that your USDL is now all in pulse, and then you kind of need to buy more USDL to get back into the pool?
For your whole pulse bag to go missing like that, or your whole USDL bag to go missing, that would take a long, long time. Remember, you're just one piece of the puzzle. You're one person, one piece of the pie out of thousands of people. So if your bag was completely gone and turned into pulse, that means like that happened to lots and lots of other people. That means nobody's like, it means you are not watching your bag. Now, you know what the market movements are doing. Like we watch the charts, right? There's not a single person who's not going to be curious what the price of pulse is every morning for the first year or two. So when you look at the price of pulse and you see, looks like it did a 10% dip, and then you log into liquidity, or liquid loans rather, and you see, let's see, how many vaults got liquidated today? 2 vaults. How much of that did I scoop up? It looks like I picked up 15,000 pulse, and I lost however much USDL. Cool. My position shifted a little bit. Now you have an option. You can withdraw that pulse immediately and go market dump it if you wanted to. Or you could take that pulse and you can go add it to your, to your own vault. Or you can go liquidity provide with it.
Jesse, the way that liquid loans is set up with their stability pool for USDL, you know how the saying in legacy and in crypto is that you can't time the market to figure out when the best buy is, right? Like everybody who's listening to this has probably heard somebody in finance say you can't pick the point where it's the absolute lowest to purchase whatever.
Yeah, but liquid loans does it for you.
And you get a discount, guys. So the way this is set up, you are able to put USDL into a protocol. You're like, hey, I would like to increase my bag of pulse, and it's okay if it takes time to do that, right? So you put your USDL into this pool, and this protocol, the way that it is set up, has it so that at the lowest point in pulse, you buy, because that is when people get liquidated. So this is the mechanism to get you in at the lowest price in the market for pulse. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just be like, hey, Sam, when is going to be the lowest price in pulse? I would like to go buy at that price. And I'm like, hey, man, that is going to be November 4th at 2 p.m., right? This way, it's already set up. It's almost like a limit order on the deepest discount of Pulse, and then you get a 10% discount on top of that. Like, Jesse, this is super cool. I think this is awesome in the first way. I'm like putting it together in this way as a like almost like a limit order or like a way to foresee. You have something that's going to be a fortune teller that tells you here on this date it is the lowest price in Pulse. You get your share of that, and you get a 10% discount. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Now there is a risk that Pulse just keeps going down in value, right? So you pick up, okay, one guy gets liquidated, you pick up a tiny fraction of that liquidation. You get some of that Pulse. And then Pulse goes down another 10% in value, and then another 10% in value. Well, at that point, technically, the Pulse you picked up is worth less than the USDL that you spent to buy it, right? Because it just kept on going down. So you have to consider that. But remember, you're just one piece of many, many, many people in there. So it's not like you're going to have $1,000 in the stability pool, and then one guy's going to get liquidated, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I lost all my $1,000 worth of USDL, and now I have $1,100 worth of Pulse. And then it's going to go down and down and down, and then you're like, oh, now I only have $500 worth of Pulse. It's not like that. Because you're only one guy, it's like you throw $1,000 worth of USDL in there, and then you wake up and there's a liquidation. You're like, ooh, I just picked up $2 worth of Pulse.
It's going to be a relatively small percentage of a bag that gets converted. So maybe a more accurate way to think about it would be like, if somebody is bullish on Pulse and they would like to increase their stake of Pulse over time, they would probably find it advantageous to DCA into Pulse if that's their belief system, that they're bullish on Pulse and they would like to continually DCA into Pulse. Then if it hits a low point, you buy a 10% discount. So you have your Pulse in the example Jesse was just mentioning, $1,000. Now it would be $1,100. Let's say that would be on a bag of say $100,000, right? So you only converted $1,000 of $100,000. Now it's $1,100 of Pulse, but the price of Pulse drops another 50%. Right now you have $555 of Pulse, and somebody else gets liquidated, and you do another $1,000 purchase, and you get a lot more Pulse because the price has come down at 50%. So you're saying this, and I'm like, oh, cool. This is a way for me to DCA into something that I'm bullish about.
Exactly. And it's dependent on how healthy people are too, right? The protocol automatically steers everyone as an average over 150. So how many people are under 150? Well, certainly not the majority. So the liquidations that are occurring, like if everybody's doing the right thing, there might be no liquidations, right? We could have a 20 or 30% market dip, and there's not a single liquidation if everybody's collateralized at really healthy levels. In fact, if everybody does over 150, like the market has to dip 50%. Or yeah, it has to dip by 50 for anybody to be liquidated. Like, so just imagine, do the right thing. As a community, we should actually all commit to really healthy collateral levels, and we might see zero liquidations. Now, as a stability provider, you could say, well, shoot, I want some of that. If you go look over on Liquidity, you'll actually see that the gains from being a stability provider are actually very, very small from liquidations. The majority of the gains is because people are earning the staking token, the LQTY token, the reward pool incentive for being in there. They're not like making hand over fist because people are getting liquidated left and right. Ideally, we don't want people to be liquidated. So I could see a scenario where nobody's being liquidated. Weeks and weeks go by. Nobody's ever liquidated.
I think there's a little
But people
misconception.
are still being rewarded in the incentive in the in the loan token, and they're doing other things with that.
Is there a little misconception within like the incentive structure of these kind of protocols? It seems like people think they're incentivized to liquidate people. I don't necessarily think that's how it would work from a marketing standpoint at all. I don't know how it works.
So it's interesting. This question comes up on occasion. What's to prevent a whale from coming in and liquidating everybody? Well, I like to describe it like, imagine if a whale had a hex stake and he nuked his own stake to try and pick up some extra T-shares in his other stakes. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So what would it take to move the price? And then what would you gain by moving the price? All right. So you're a whale, Impulse, and let's say you want to move the market. How far do you think you're going to move it? You think you're going to move the whole market 30%, 50%? What kind of economic energy does it take to move the market 50%? Like to shove the price down by 50%? What liquidity pools are you going to do that on where there's not going to be R-bots right behind you buying whatever you're trying to dump right up behind you? Remember that Liquid Loans uses time-weighted averages and it uses oracles. So are you going to dump billions upon billions of dollars worth of pulse and try and sustain the price down while there's R-bots coming in behind you from thousands of different liquidity pools, buying it back in to balance all the other liquidity pools back out, because you just created a cheap pulse on one pool, but pulse is still expensive on the other, and all the others, the thousands of other pools. So literally what happens, if somebody tries to dump the native coin of a chain, it dumps a little bit. And immediately people buy it back up and they sell it back into the other pools. And it balances everything out very quickly. So Liquid Loans is looking at all this and it's time weighting averaging it. Okay. So as a whale, you would have to dump billions and billions of dollars. Maybe even if you manage to dump the price, say 50%, who did you actually liquidate? Remember, the average of everybody is 150 or above. So did you just manage to liquidate like 5 volts by doing that? Were those 5 volts whales? Probably not. Were they minnows? Were they just people with, $2,000 or $3,000 loans? Perhaps. Where did their pulse go when you managed to get them liquidated? It went to the stability providers and get spread across a huge community. And you as a whale might be one single participant in there and pick up a percentage of that pulse by burning some of your USDL. So what you ended up doing is you just gave away a bunch of free pulse by trying to dump the markets over on Uniswap or PulseX. You dumped your own bags, spilled them all over the ground for all the R-bots to pick it all up from you at a cheap discount, just so you could pick up little tiny pieces of that again back in the stability pool. It makes zero sense at all, and it's not happening. It's not possible. It's not happening over on Liquidity or any other forks of Liquidity. And anybody who believes that that's possible to do that, please go wreck your bags and go try it.
Jesse, I have 2 questions for you. First of all, if you don't mind, you don't need the dollar amount, but what type of returns are you earning over there? And then the second question is about the loan token. But I want to first hear, if you don't mind sharing, roughly-ish, what are the returns that you see yourself getting over on Ethereum, on Liquidity? Don't give me the dollar amount, just like a percent.
Okay, so I caught the first part of your question. 4 to 6% right now. Sometimes it goes as high as 20 to 25, but right now with the markets the way they are, 4 to 6%.
Cool. Now with the loan token, do you think? Now this is the game we call conjecture, right? That's a fancy word for saying opinion, right? Do you foresee loan token being available on PulseX? Trading with Pulse or trading with PulseX? Yes, you do see somebody providing liquidity. Okay, interesting, cool.
Somebody will for sure.
Dope, because that I see that there's also an opportunity potentially between the ratio at which somebody is able to mint loan token through the stability pool and the ratio that it is going to be at in PulseX, right? So say if somebody puts in $10,000 of USDL and they get 10,000 loan token, where if you go take that $10,000 and you're able to buy $12,000 worth of loan token in PulseX, there's a way to increase the amount you get there. Or the same thing holds in like the reverse, right? Because then you could take $10,000, get 10,000 loan token in the protocol, take your $10,000 if it was selling for $8,000 in PulseX, and dump the loan token and make $2,000 profit, right?
You confused me a little bit, right? Loan token, you pick it up for free by being a stability provider. You can go buy it. I'm sure somebody will provide liquidity for it. But free is always better than buying. Here's a reality. Like, we don't know who's going to provide liquidity for the loan token. It doesn't, in fact, it's interesting because what if everybody stakes it?
That's why I wanted to ask you. That's because you're the one who has like an asymmetry of information. Like, you have information that I don't have, right? You are part of the team and you talk to the team and you guys have probably had these conversations or something similar to them. So that's why I wanted to know if you believe.
Well, listen, but remember, everything in this protocol is driven by the community. So let me give an example. And we can kind of incentivize certain things. The protocol can incentivize certain things. But, like, if you think that we're going to create a liquidity pool, you're mistaken. We might, like, kickstart it. There might be, like, a tiny, tiny, tiny bit in there. But you may see incentives or rewards for the community to start adding liquidity.
In which way? Can you talk about like how that could be created?
And it also makes it kind of like, look at all the protocols where you have a team that is like either like the sole liquidity provider, and they say, oh, we're going to lock our liquidity, or we're not going to lock our liquidity. And like they manage it, they pull the liquidity, they move it, they can do whatever they want. Or imagine just incentivizing the community, and the community, as thousands of people, are all providing liquidity themselves. Which one is safer and more decentralized?
Well, how would you do that? What is the incentive? What is the thought process behind the incentive? Like, how could you incentivize people to do that?
Provide liquidity?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know how loan tokens are rewarded to stability depositors?
Yes, sir.
They're also rewarded to people who provide liquidity with USDL.
Oh, this is a new feature that's going to be added, or
no? It's always been that way.
Oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
There is a sum of tokens that's set aside, in addition to any free airdrop, the sacrifice set. And that sum of tokens set aside is literally put into smart contracts to reward stability pool participants and also reward liquidity pool participants.
So how does that work? How, like, from kind of like a logistics? So I'm like, okay, I have got $10,000 worth of loan token, or 10,000 loan token, or something, right? And I'm like, cool. Let me go put this into a pair that I agree with.
USDL, because I never said we'd do that with a loan token. We prefer that people stake the loan token, right?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So you're talking about the US.
Like the goal here is USDL to become the dominant stablecoin, right?
Okay. So
So imagine how that would look. Let's say you like to be a liquidity provider now, and historically you like USDC, and maybe you're a hex USDC pair guy, but you see, well, wait a minute, I can swap some of my USDC for some USDL, and the rate that I'll get for providing liquidity, USDL to hex or USDL to pulse or something, is much higher, by 2, 3, 4% higher than if I had done it with USDC. So you decide, well, I'm just going to take a portion of my bag. I'm going to do the same game that I'm already doing, but I'm going to do it with USDL. What you'll end up seeing is USDL starts to become more and more and more dominant on the chain. You start to see more and more protocols start to use it because the liquidity providers are being paid extra for doing that.
So is that similar to the ratio?
Logistically, how does that work?
Yes.
You do it through our front end. You do it through our front end, which is tied back into PulseX.
Gotcha. Okay, and then that way you can claim your token, your loan
token
through your
right.
Gotcha. Cool.
So the smart contract can see that you're doing that, see that you're doing it through Liquid Loans protocol, and then you'll have a little claim button. You can claim your extra rewards for being a liquidity provider. So you'll get the normal liquidity provider fees back and forth as people swap, just like normal, but then you'll be able to claim any additional incentives.
Will the what is the ratio difference between putting $10,000 into the stability pool in Liquid Loans in terms of how much you can mint, right, for $10,000? So say you put in $10,000 into the stability pool and you mint 5,000 loan token, versus taking your 10,000 USDL and putting it into PulseX liquidity pool.
Well, hold on. Let's back up a second. You don't ever mint anything. The entire supply is minted on day one of the protocol. Everything exists on day one.
And it just gets released.
Right. There's no inflation. Everything is smart contracted into, there's pools. Everything's smart contracted and released or whatever to people who do various things inside the protocol, but everything exists on day one.
Cool. So what is that ratio going to be? Putting money into the stability pool in terms of how much is released of the loan token versus putting money into the stability pool or putting money into LP with PulseX. How is there going to be a giant difference with that? Is it also going to drop by 50%?
It's likely to. So I don't have visibility on those numbers right now. There's another team working on that, but it's likely to be much higher at the beginning for being a liquidity provider, and then trail off as time goes on. At one point, completely stopping. Actually, those rewards won't last forever. They could last, who knows, 3 months, 6 months, a year. But it's also something that can be fired back up again if necessary. Or extended as necessary.
How can that be expanded if the code is
closed? The protocol is immutable? If the protocol is immutable?
Yeah.
Because these are outside of the protocol itself. Right, the protocol itself has a number of smart contracts. It has the lending smart contract, the borrowing feature. It has the stability pool, the functions inside of that. It has the reward payout for the stability pool that it gets halved every year. That's completely unchangeable. And then you have the staking portion where you stake the loan tokens and you earn the fees. All of that 100% completely immutable. Liquidity providing on an exterior DEX like PulseX is not native to the protocol. That's different. That is a completely different smart contract that's not part of the protocol itself.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, so now with the ratio information, are you, so I think I might have asked this a while ago and you weren't exactly sure at the time. the 50% drop in the stability pool, is that happening on a minute-to-minute basis? Is it happening after every transaction? Is it happening at one point per year that it takes place? How is the ratio in the stability pool for the minting of the loan token going to be actually implemented?
The rewarding of the loan token. Remember, it all exists on day one. All right, so
Yeah.
that reward pool has a sum of loan tokens. Let's say it's 100 loan tokens. Those 100 loan tokens, half of which will get released in year one. So 50 of those loan tokens will be distributed throughout the year on a second-by-second basis to the
Okay.
stability deposit.
So the ratio is going to adjust like on a daily basis.
Right. So basically, the protocol is simply looking at the wallets, and it says, these are the wallets and these are the ratios. There's 365 days in a year. There's 24 hours in a day. There's 60, seconds in a minute, so on and so forth. And it's literally just releasing those 50 loan tokens in this example to all those stability providers based on your proportion in the pool. And then when the anniversary date of liquid loans comes around, the protocol says, oh, there's 50 loan tokens left. So it knows 25 of those loan tokens are going to be distributed. So divided by 365, divided by 24 hours in a day, divided by 60, divided by 60 again. And it's doing the same thing. And every year, it just takes the remaining supply in the pool and it cuts it in half. So the rate literally gets cut in half. So you could be a stability provider the day before the anniversary date, and maybe you're collecting, 500 loan tokens a day or something, right? And the day clicks over and past the anniversary date, and now for the exact same percentage in the pool, you're only earning 250 loan tokens.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, interesting.
So it's like the Bitcoin halving kind of.
So
it just gets harder and harder to get your hands on these things as time goes on.
The liquidity, the stability pool could, it's going to incentivize people to get in the first year, at least to get some loan token, like at the highest ratio that you get in.
Early participants in any crypto normally end up being the whales in the protocol. That doesn't mean that later on people don't still have an incentive. Imagine the T-share. Okay, so a T-share always gets more expensive in hex terms, over time. Does that mean that 15 years from now, hex staking is like garbage and nobody should ever do it? No. All that means is the people at the beginning got a far better rate than the people at the end, but that doesn't mean that you still can't bring a certain amount of economic energy and still get a good return. It just means it's harder for you to ever catch up to the early participants.
It's so you're saying that I bought just to bring it back to like the real world, so to speak, so people can hopefully grasp it maybe a little bit better. I purchased real estate in Florida, and I paid $120,000 for this house 5 years ago. It's a duplex, 120 grand, right? Like stupid good deal. You're like, holy shit, 120 grand for a duplex that's 7 minutes from the beach, park right around the corner, schools around the corner, like grocery shopping 2 minutes away, the gym 2 minutes away, post office 2 minutes away, like amazing location, right? And today, I've got a 3x on that in this moment of time. So if somebody's like, Jesse's like, hey, I want to buy in this market, it's like, okay, well, now you got to buy at the higher prices. So to get to where I am at, you're going to have to buy a shitload more, because then I can refinance, buy more shit, right? I can take the value out of the property that's appreciated, right? Like that would be the pulse in the example of liquid loans. I can take the value out and then buy more stuff that can also appreciate, right? So in order to catch up, like Jeff is saying, right, you can build that whale portfolio faster by getting in early on something. Super interesting. So is there going to be any other like tag on type of things that are coming out that are pretty cool, where you'll create other incentives. Obviously, not the Liquid Loads core code, but as in like an add-on, like the one you just mentioned, to incentivize liquidity providing.
Possibly.
Can you give us some of the
biggest the biggest thing is build up the protocol to be as robust as possible early on, right? So like how I described the halving process, how I describe the incentives for liquidity providing, and then eventually those either trickle off or they stop. Like all this is designed to make, USDL go from not existing to existing everywhere very fast. And then from that point on, people just start using it. And then the people who are already in the protocol are reaping the benefits of the trading activities and lending activities, fast, because things were incentivized early on.
Yes. No, this is cool. That thing you mentioned, it wasn't around when we previously spoke, so that's super interesting about the incentivization to create USDL as like the stable coin on Pulse, because if it gets into the realm of like that is the thing to use, that's probably going to decrease the volatility, because if you look at LUSD, you look at the chart, right, and you're like, okay, this is a stable coin for liquidity protocol on Ethereum. So you're like, okay, stable coin should be pegged at $1. And if you look at the chart, it's clearly not stable. Like it's stable relative to say Ethereum. It's stable relative to say X.
Look at hold on. Look at LUSD. Correct. And then compare it to USDC. It's much, much more stable than USDC.
Oh, I will have to pull it up. We'll have to do that tomorrow.
So, listen, all stable coins are not stable. The question is how fast the arbitrage event will bring it back to being worth $1 of something. So we talked about Ponzi stables earlier, like Lunzi or Luna, right? Lunzi, like a Ponzi. Okay. Do you know how a bridge works?
I feel like I have a little bit of an understanding, but I've never used one. So please give us a little bit of context.
So
a lot of people here
most bridges have a pool of native assets, and when you use a bridge, you put in a native asset, and it holds that. It keeps it in a pool, and then it gives you like essentially a replica of that on the chain that you're going to. So if you're going to bridge Link from Ethereum chain to Binance Smart Chain, the bridge pool is going to hold the native Link, and it's going to make you a link that's always redeemable back in the bridge. Okay, it's fully backed, fully redeemable. So now you're on Binance Smart Chain. You're running around with like a fake Link, for example, but it's always worth the same amount of money. But it's not worth the same amount of money at all times instantly, because you still have liquidity pools over on Binance. And if somebody dumps a bunch of Link, the price moves. The price of Link compared to BUSD or compared to BNB, it will move. The ratios move in those liquidity pools. But they're always temporary because people see the price difference now, and they know that Link, that's the replica, what the bridge produced, is always redeemable back in the bridge for the original one. So what happens is people end up bringing the replica, they buy it, which brings the value back up to where it's supposed to be. They go back through the bridge, it burns the replica and spits out the original to them, and now they just arbed. They redeemed essentially and they brought the value of the link on one chain that was lower than the value of the link on the other chain. They just brought the values back to parity. Okay, that's called a bridge arbitrage, or a bridge peg, or a bridge redemption. And this is what keeps assets on different chains, all the same value. The values fluctuate for brief moments of time, but there's bots or individuals that will buy those cheap things up and then arbitrage them back into the other chains. Now, stablecoins are the same exact way. USDC moves in price. If somebody was to go market dump $5 million worth of USDC, and Uniswap says that they're going to have 3 or 4% slippage, they're literally moving the price 3 or 4%, which means for a brief moment of time in that liquidity pool, which whatever they're dumping for, that USDC goes from being worth $1 to being worth 96 cents. But it's only temporary, because somebody's going to come in right behind them, usually with a bot, and they're going to buy up that cheap USDC, and then they're going to redeem it back for either fiat, or they're just going to sell it back into the other pools. LUSD is no different. USDL is no different. The price is going to move, but it's going to be very temporary, because there's always a guaranteed arbitrage event, a guaranteed redemption, where you can take you can take one USDL, and the protocol will give you $1 worth of Pulse. So if you find USDL on PulseX and it's like 95 cents, like, you better scoop it up, because 2 seconds later you can literally click the redeem button and get $1 worth of Pulse for it. And
okay.
then
I know, I completely agree. This is like what you're describing is why Hex is going to have parity very quickly, like immediately, right? Because of the bridge. Because of the bridge, you're going to bring, say, 100 million Hex through the bridge. You're going to have wrapped Ethereum on PulseX. If you have, say, $100 million and it's trading at $80 million, somebody's going to buy that up and make $20 million. And it might be hard to conceptualize that for people, but think of $5,000. If you bring $5,000 of EHEX through the bridge, and now it is trading on Pulse as wrapped EHEX, but it's trading for $4,000, you can go purchase that for $4,000, the wrapped EHEX, and then bring it back to the bridge and make $1,000. That's what Jesse's describing right here. So I think this is interesting. I pulled up the chart where you were actually talking about this.
Tangent, how are you doing, Tangent?
Yo, I don't want to interrupt. I just came to flex my Bitcoin bag. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
How you guys going?
How's your Bitcoin bag doing? Is today a little pumping?
Yes.
Too? I haven't checked.
Pumping. Yeah, at the moment it's pumping.
Top signal, guys.
And also remember, monthly closes in 7.5 hours, roughly, like 7 hours, 20 minutes.
Is that 7 weeklies in a row? That is, Bitcoin's been down, if I remember from my research yesterday. Bitcoin was 7 red weekly candles in a row, and it's probably going to print
the week one. That just closed. The week that just closed yesterday or the day before, I think, was the 8th week in a row.
And you know the S&P has not
8 or 9. It was crazy.
You know the S&P has not. The S&P has not done 8 weeks straight since before 2008, and it might do 8 weeks straight. This might be the first 8 weeks straight since before 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, so we could be in like the worst bearish scenario in history.
But
we also could not be, right? Like, they can print out money.
We're in that macro. This could be the first time crypto is experiencing macro, potentially depression, but definitely a recession since it's been around. And we don't have any data points to know how that could be affected, right? We can see that we get 80, 90, 95% dips in crypto just in a bull market, like just bull market in the real world type of thing, but never have we gone through a crypto market where you have a bear market in crypto and then you actually have a recession taking place in the physical world. So this is going to be interesting. Yeah. it could drag on for a little bit longer than what's normal.
Or this could just be the final, like we don't know how early in adoption we really are. It's kind of hard to tell, right? Like it's never, you can never tell when things are going to just like start flopping over. So maybe we could just be underestimating everything.
Sam's right. It's because basically legacy has been in just a bull market for years and years and years. So we've never got double teamed like this before, where the crypto bear is with an actual legacy bear at the same time. That's never happened.
It'll be cool to see who survives, won't it?
Well, we already kind of have the answer here. We already know what's going to happen. So, I mean, like, that's how I feel.
Hey, I don't know what's going to happen to Solana, ADA, a lot of these chains. I'm just curious. I'm not saying that they're
Hex will survive. Hex will survive.
Oh, Hex will survive because
Jimrat. Bro, heaps of those projects, even layer ones that are considered to be really not going anywhere, could cease to exist in terms of mind share. Like the token will still exist and be tradable, but they'll be just RIP. Like, yeah.
Dude, I could totally imagine a world in 3 years we come back and the top 10 is just like 4 or 5 of the coins are not even in the top 100 anymore.
Yeah. That has happened multiple times in the past.
But I've never experienced it, but I can totally see it.
But you can experience it sort of by using Google's Wayback Machine. So you can go and look at what CoinMarketCap's top 10 was at all different periods through time.
Oh, really?
And see that they are all different. It's virtual. So I was actually just saying this on a stream today on Discourse Syndicate that Ethereum is the only coin that has ever stayed in the top 10 for more than a moment in crypto time. Well, actually, sorry, that's the other way around. It's crypto time. It's a long time in crypto time, but it's a short period in real time.
Like 2-year period of time is ancient for crypto, but like in
So
not that much.
So while a project might be in the top 10 for a while in crypto time, in real life, it's only in there for, a couple of months or something like that. ETH is the only project that has survived that test.
We call that Terra Luna time. In Terra Luna time, you could be gone. You could go from one of the most stable, like good buys to like completely gone within dude, Terra Luna was talked about as something that was very, very positive. Like, not positive.
Yeah, I liked it. Because I've always been bullish on stables, on decentralized stables. I mean, you guys were just talking about that before I came in, right? And I agree with what Jesse was saying. And so I think having a decentralized stable is very important for censorship resistance. But it needs to be one like what Liquid Loans has got, where it's not programmatically going to fail, right? Like there's a chance for anything to fail in this world, but you don't want it so that you can actually point to how it's going to collapse.
Like all the rich dudes are like, wait, they're just gonna go that way.
Yeah.
Anyone that intimately knew about Terra Luna, which is just a very small amount of people, like not myself, I would not include into that.
Jesse was calling it.
Yeah, Jesse, guys like Jesse, Richard, all these guys that really understand what's going on. But how many of those guys are there? They're just very few. Like people don't study that shit.
I imagine that part of the reason why Jesse would have been going deep on that was because it was relevant to him in terms of competition for his protocol.
Well, I invited him on. Whenever we talk stables, I invite Jesse on because he knows most.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for, a year ago, really starting to research how these stables work and what keeps them at peg and stuff. Like literally, if it wasn't for Liquid Loans, and trying to find, the perfect thing that can't fail, like I wouldn't have known. I probably would have had a big bag of Luna and lost it all.
Well, thanks for doing that research. I wanted to first acknowledge you for coming on and sharing the information. Super cool. I appreciate it. I have to run. As always, Tangent likes to come in at the end. He's like, I don't like talking to Sam, so I'm going to wait until Sam gets off. And so
I'm sorry, Sam. I actually really enjoy streaming with you. But because Jexa and I stayed in the green room after the DS stream for a really long time. So when Jimrat invited me onto this stream, I had to go and eat and do a few things. Otherwise, I would have been here earlier.
No worries. Jesse, thank you for your time as well and sharing the information. Super cool to learn about the incentive to provide USDL. You can share that with Tangent. I don't know if Tangent heard that. And everybody who is here, who is listening, there's some links down below if you want to support in other ways like Instagram or Twitter. Go give a follow over there. Appreciate you guys. GRC, I'll talk to you soon.
Set up that podcast for Thursday, please. And I'd like to be on it.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, at some point I want to come on and I want to talk about hardware wallets, in particular secret passphrases and hidden wallets and why you need to use them.
Hey, Jesse, are you available tomorrow night at 6 p.m.? Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. EST. Orca just canceled, so I was going to live stream for probably about an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour on DMs. Cool. I'll hit you up in the DM.
Yeah, send me a message.
Cool. Orca would be scared to come on right now with the way that the Bitcoin price is heading.
Oh shit.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Jesse, I'll reach out.
I can see him getting out of his lazy chair right now, just like, oh snap. No, but get out of here, Sam.
See you, Sam.
Yeah, good times today, boys. Jesse, thank you so much for sharing all that alpha with us. Dude, Curve is pretty crazy. Curve is pretty wild, man.
It's completely 1980s, but it'll save you money.
So, yeah, no, but I mean the concept.
I actually love that. I love that about the site, how it looks so retro. Like it is.
Because no one's using it. Like you're just like, I'm getting all these.
No, I assumed it was deliberate. That they were trying to make it look.
It wasn't. Sam told me it wasn't. I said that has to be deliberate because it looks.
It has to be deliberate, man. I think it would take more effort to make a website look that old school.
That's what I said.
Then, yep. I agree with you, man.
That's what I said. I was like, dude, I wouldn't even know how to make this website. I would just go to a template, pay $30,
exactly.
Send it another different one. Like it's like these guys are smart. They're not just because they're not marketing savvy doesn't mean they're like stooges, like they don't know how to hire someone. But saying, Sam could be right. No, he's not. But anyway, I'm going to jump off the show, guys. I have a lot of stuff to do. Tangent, we should set up an episode where we just do a full episode again.
Oh, good.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's just cool. It's all really fun. I know it's all like everyone's money, life savings and stuff, but it's fun. Okay. And Jesse comes on here every single day, clarifies all the good stuff for us. It's fun to watch people stop hating on liquid loans.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, look,
it's kind of fun to watch.
I've been a fan from the start.
Tangent.
Yep.
I had to be a little hardball in the beginning because I had to pretend like I knew what I was talking about. But I really just basically told everyone I don't know, but everyone's fudding, so I don't know what to say. And now it's kind of like, guys, we're just going into a different time.
For me, it was that potential tax mitigation strategy that may or may not be applicable in your jurisdiction that sold me immediately. I was like, that's Galaxy Brain shit. I'm in. I'm all in. Like that's.
I didn't even get to the Galaxy Brain thoughts before I just gave him my money because why not? I just said these guys look legit. Everyone's retweeting, and when someone puts their face out there, like that mean like they're putting their reputation on the line. They probably care a lot about it, and I kind of like do a lot of that social like thinking about it. Like when people are hiding and in the corners, like you can usually tell that they're being a little bit. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna jump off of here. I'm gonna play this song.
Cool. Really good to see you guys. I'm glad I caught the end.
Yeah, dude, it's great to see you always, and I hope everything's going down there in Perth just beautifully.
Yes, down under. We're all good. Cheers, man. See you, Jesse.
Folks, you tripping on them, motherfucker.
Richard Hart.
Have a good one, man.
Richard Hart.
See ya.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. Point one, everything we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm rich at heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm rich at heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at wives they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pro chains out, gonna get me a check. Heath gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex had me eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Buy my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm rich at heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Buy hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm rich at heart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm